Hey, what's going on, guys? It's week 16 of the NFL season. It's 7 a.m. here at Northern Highlands. We had a one-week hiatus, but this episode we're going to be bringing you guys a recap of last week, some news, some NFL games, and some fantasy boom or bust. Chase, with a little recap.
Yeah, so the Highlands plague took us all out there. It was hard to get an episode in last week. We apologize for that, but that didn't stop us from watching football.
No, it didn't.
What was your guys' favorite game from the slate last week?
Well, I'm not sure about my favorite game, but I definitely know my least favorite game. My Cowboys didn't have a great showing against the Bills this week. A lot of things come from that game. Dak's moved way out of the MVP race. He's third now. They got a rebound. They're struggling at home. They're 3-4. They play better teams at home than they have on the road, or on the road than they have at home. But 3-4 on the road, 7-0 at home. That's a big discrepancy. And just like the Niners lost, they're definitely going to be looking to rebound against the Dolphins. Another tough matchup on the road.
Yeah, I'd say my favorite game was the Lions and Broncos because I had Sam Laporta and Jared Goff in the playoffs. But the most entertaining game was probably Browns-Bears for me. The Browns just keep finding ways to win. I don't understand how. I don't think they're that good. They have a really good defense. Joe Flacco looks like he's rejuvenated. But, I mean, honestly, this team is starting to look like they have a real shot, and I don't like it. I think they can win the division with the Ravens' upcoming schedule. Who do they play? The Niners, Dolphins, and then the Steelers. That game is. I think they could easily lose the Niners and Dolphins, which means the Browns just have to win out to win the division, and that'd give them the 1, 2, or 3, and I think they have a real shot.
Yeah.
I'm sure we all saw. Sorry, the last play and Darnell Mooney. We were actually all watching together.
It was in his hand.
Oh, that
was in his lap.
Oh, God.
And did he kick it up?
It was. I don't even know what happened.
And poor Fields got a second pick off of just tipped Hail Marys.
Yeah. So speaking of the Steelers, we were watching that together, AI.
Oh, yeah.
It was 13-0.
It was 13-0, and I wasn't confident. And I knew I shouldn't have been confident.
30-0.
30-13. They outscored them 30-0 after that.
Steelers really need that game, too.
I mean, Canada wasn't the problem, let's be real here. It's Kenny.
That's not true. Sorry. I'd actually really like to talk about the Steelers for a sec. They were 7-4. I've been a Steelers fan my whole life, and ever since Ben retired, it's just not been easy.
I don't even know who played. It was Mitch at
Trubisky.
first, and then
Mason Rudolph came in the final.
He's starting next game, right?
Yeah.
The quarterback room was one of the worst in a long time.
Steelers were
7-4,
and everyone was seeing posts like, "Oh my God, they play the Cardinals, the Patriots, and the Colts in back-to-back weeks.
Should have been 10-4.
They play Kyler Murray, Bailey Zappi, and Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew's not that bad, but they play a guy coming off an ACL injury, horrible quarterback, and
horrible
Minshew.
Teams too.
And I was like, all right, they should win, but I can't be confident. I remember we were talking about it. They run the same 5 or 6 offensive plays, and you could tell by the formations when they're running, and you could tell what kind of run play they're running. And if I can see that, and I've never watched film in my life, I'm sure every single player on the Colts sideline out on the field knows.
Yeah.
And it's never going to work.
Yeah, you see like Christian McCaffrey when he was watching that crazy Monday Night Football game, like predicting some of Jalen Hurts' plays from his couch, like. The defensive coordinators, some of the best in the business, they're definitely all over the Steelers offense lately. And we can't skip over that Eagles-Seahawks game. I mean, Drew Lock, for his career, that was such a huge game. For so many teams in the NFL, that was such a huge game. And I really enjoyed watching DK in that final drive. It was really special to watch.
Yeah, it was fun. And JSN, that catch was ridiculous. I mean, the throw was good, but the catch was like fingertips.
So hard.
3rd and 10. They had 2 3rd and 10s. It was the same play pretty much down the right sideline.
Yeah, Drew Lock said if someone's one-on-one. I mean, I saw an Instagram video. I don't know if you guys saw it, but every single completion on that drive was against Bradbury. Every single one. That. The 2 early to DK, the 1 to the right side, and the JSN one. So I think that's actually crazy. And moving on to this week's action in the NFL, the game. I know there's some better games, but the game I really love and have a personal connection to is Saints versus Rams. So the Rams are favored by 4 points. It's a pretty close spread, and there's a lot of stars playing in this game. I know for our matchup, Chase, we've got Cooper Kupp, Kyren Williams, Puka Nacua. Stafford's been playing out of his mind. The Rams really are on fire, and I've really liked them all year. Their offense
is that why you have a personal connection to this game?
The fantasy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I mean,
what else is going on over there? I didn't know.
You look at their most recent games. They put up 37 against the Cardinals, 36 against the Browns, 31 against the Ravens, which they lost that game, and 28 against the Rams. This team is so different with Kyren Williams, who in his second year he is such an unbelievable running back. He's such an unbelievable running back. He gets like 100 yards rushing a game. For some reason, teams just can't stop him. I don't know where he came from, but he just cannot be stopped. And he's really been helping me out in fantasy. He's projected 18 points. And I don't think, even though the Saints have a really good run defense, I don't think they're going to be able to stop him either. It's too hard to guard Kupp, Puka, and stop the run. You can't do it. And Stafford, he's hot. He's so smart, and he knows what to do given the defense.
Yeah, the Rams are really good 7-7. They're 7-7.
They're 7th seed now, I think.
They're better than that, and they're a team that could knock out someone in the playoffs.
Anyone.
If they get the 6, because Detroit pretty much has the 3 locked up, if they get the 6, that's going to be a great game. Stafford going back to Detroit for the first time.
Oh, that's going to be
a great game. They have so many weapons. Kyren Williams is like, where the
if
hell
they get
did
the
he come
6
from?
or 7, if you think about it, they've played 8 games minimum. It's probably more than that without Cooper Kupp and Kyren both playing together. 8 games. That's their best tandem. Yeah. They're such a different team. They're going to be coming in 7 seed, 6 seed. You look at some of the other potential candidates for 7, 6 seed, like the Vikings and the Saints and the Buccaneers. Those teams are just going to get blown out. But I think if the Eagles, the Cowboys, or the Lions play the Rams, it's really going to be a tough matchup for them. Yeah. I mean, the 49ers would probably just run through them. I mean, that team is so unfair.
Yeah, it was just...
It's going to be... they're really shaking up the playoffs, and nobody wants to play them, that's for sure.
I was just about to say the one team that probably wouldn't have trouble with them is the Niners, and that brings me to my game, which is Ravens-Niners in San Francisco on Christmas night. I think it's the game of the year. I think last week after the Eagles losing on Monday night to a mediocre team just proved that San Francisco's far and away won, and the Ravens are honestly the second best team in the league. Lamar is just, I don't know how no one can get him down, but I don't know if you guys watched Sunday night, but
I did not.
Every single play, he can't get sacked. The throw to Likely on the third and whatever, how is that even possible?
It's so hard to guard receivers for that long when he's just the first option's not there, and then they're running around, and they probably practice that all the time. They probably know that Lamar's going to extend plays, and the receivers know exactly what to do in this situation.
Yeah,
and Likely has...
The receivers have a scramble drill just to get the hell open.
Yeah.
He's becoming a really, really smart quarterback along with the crazy skill he has. And
his fumbles are down, definitely. I haven't seen him
he's
fumble
becoming
as much.
top 5, 4, and maybe not 3 this year, but statistics-wise, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think that's the favorite in the AFC right now. I do have the Niners winning, but this could be a situation where if the Niners win, they blow them out. Yeah. And then I think the Niners either blow them out or the Ravens win by 3. But I have the Niners winning.
I 100% agree.
Niners in close games, we said, have not been good. I think they come out first drive effortlessly. For some reason, everyone's always wide open on their team. They'll just go down easy. Debo, Kittle.
Yeah, we'll know. With the Niners, you kind of just know right away what the game's going to be like. When you see one drive from each team...
That's not necessarily true. Against the Eagles, I thought the Niners, their first... I don't know how many drives it took, 3 or 4, but it was horrific. Yeah, and then I don't know what they did, if it was a little adjustment here, a little Brock Purdy motivation.
Yeah.
6 straight touchdown drives.
Yeah, I didn't even know they
42
had 6
straight points.
I didn't even know they had 6 straight touchdown drives. But what I was just gonna say is they're the type of team that once they get going, it's just touchdown after touchdown. The first and 10 yards away from a first down every time is just meaningless for that team. It's
it's first and 9 for the Eagles.
Yeah,
it's first and goal for the Niners.
It is first and goal every time. And they have just infinite first downs because they can do whatever they want. The only teams that have caused problems for them is when they haven't had their best left tackle, who happens to be the best left tackle of the decade, and Deebo Samuel, who I'm just gonna pull up some of his stats recently because he had that one really great year 2 years ago, and then he didn't really do so well. He didn't really do so well last season, but he is just on fire this season. I know in fantasy I was like afraid to draft him. I didn't really like his value, but in the past couple of games he's had so many touchdowns.
His last 4 weeks, his lowest points scored fantasy is 21. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And I don't remember the last time he hasn't scored a touchdown. He can rush. He can be wide open on a pass. Sometimes they just find the right matchup. When Kittle has a linebacker on him, he's over the top touchdown. When somebody else has somebody
top
slow,
and it's not even close.
Yeah. There's just too many threats. No defense has enough defense to stop the run with McCaffrey, which is 8 yards every time, right up the middle. Doesn't even matter. Ayuk, who's wide open and so skilled. Debo, Kittle, with the amazing blocking, with Purdy not throwing interceptions. Someone's going to have anything can happen in the playoffs, but someone's going to have such a good game. And if the Niners blow out the Ravens, the league is in trouble.
Yeah. They're going to drop to minus odds if they blow them out of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
On to my game. I got the Cowboys going into Miami. A little showdown of the 10-4 teams.
Yep.
Last week, the Miami Dolphins, who I think a lot of people were gonna play horribly without Tyreek, played great. Waddle stepped up.
Yes.
And it's like Tyreek was still there. Not for my fantasy team, I'm out, but Waddle, he had 8 catches for 142 yards and a touchdown. And he had that staple play where it's a 75-yard touchdown on the first play
That's
of the
Hill's
drive.
play. Hill's play.
That's Hill's play. That's what maybe you think you're missing. Nope, Waddle's right there. That was after the Jets were mocking the Waddle celebration too. That was great watching that.
Yeah. And before you talk about the actual matchup, one thing going into that last week's game that I thought the Dolphins would really struggle is you saw the Texans. They came into the game against the Jets without Tank Dell, and they were struggling. And then Nico Collins went down, and they were without their top receivers, and they couldn't move the ball at all. I thought that with Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed, when Hill went out, I thought the Dolphins would really struggle to move the ball, and they just completely showed otherwise. The only thing it hurt for the Dolphins is Tyreek Hill's MVP chance.
Not even our offense there. The Jets' offense is horrible, but it's hard to shut out a team in the NFL.
Yeah.
And we did it. We held them to negative yards in the first half, I think.
Yeah, it was -1, which is just,
our
when you see that, you
defense
just want to.
has been showing up with Jalen Ramsey. And the Cowboys, I really wish the Cowboys had won last week against Buffalo. I think they got their ass handed to them too much.
They had their most missed tackles since 2021.
Yeah, that was just a hard game to watch. I didn't see anything the Cowboys did and thought, wow, that's a Cowboys play.
Yeah.
And, you had the CD garbage time jet sweep. He had some big catches. Dak was not playing good, but I still think the Cowboys come out of Hard Rock 11-4.
Yeah. Obviously, I would have to agree with that. Dallas they haven't lost back-to-back games since week 11 and 12 or 12 and 13 in 2021. They just, for some reason, they don't lose back-to-back games. I don't even really know if it's good coaching. It just seems like the Cowboys always need a fire to be lit under them. You saw since the 49ers loss, they got blown out to the team that beat them in the playoffs 2 years in a row. It lit a fire under them. It lit a fire under Dak to play MVP caliber football moving forward. Since that week, he was 22 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Yeah, I think that's with all good teams.
Yeah.
Other than the Chiefs this year, they had a crazy streak of not losing 2 games in a row. I think unfortunately for the Dolphins, we haven't played 2 good teams in a row. It's always been a good team. We lost to the Tennessee Titans. We went into what game? The Jets game. We didn't let them score a single point on offense.
Yeah.
After that game.
I think the Dolphins knew that Titans game wasn't them, though. That game wasn't them.
Listen, we're not a primetime team. Tua's not a primetime quarterback. I hate to say it. I love him. I think he's a great guy. I get scared in primetime.
I get scared on Sundays.
I think that the difference maker of this game is not going to be CeeDee Lamb or Dak or Hill or Tua or really the defenses. Well, yes, the defenses. I think it's going to be the ability of Mostert and A-Chain. If they can get similar run, I mean, in my opinion, they're both better than James Cook, even though he's very good. But if they can have similar success to what he was doing, I mean, that's what kills the Cowboys. When you can consistently run it down their throat, Arizona did that. The 49ers did exactly that. If they're able to do that, which, I mean, clearly it's possible, it's going to be a rough game.
When you're thinking of top running backs in the league, you're not thinking James Cook.
No.
And he goes, it's in Buffalo. He has 25 carries for 180 yards and a touchdown. Like, he ripped them apart.
100%.
And he's not even like I said, you don't think of him as a crazy running back. I mean, he has a lot of receiving upside.
Mm-hmm.
This ties into my boom. Yeah. I got 3 words for you. Let James cook. He's going into LA, which we all know that's not an away game for anybody.
Oh, the Chargers.
I think the Bills have found what's working for them these past 3 games. Other than their bye, I mean, he's had pretty much 100 or over that in scrimmage yards. Josh Allen isn't turning the ball over because they're running it. I mean, he hit his year-high carries at 25, and he was just ripping them apart. So I think the Bills will continue to run, and that's why James Cook will go off.
Yeah, they do a good job on riding the hot hand.
Yeah. And I'm not going to give a bust for you guys because mine have been historically bad. If I had got the clown nose, I would be wearing it right now after my DeAndre Hopkins bust. So I'll spare everyone this week. If you lost in the playoffs or in a must-win situation because you benched D-Hop, I'm sincerely sorry.
Yeah, I mean, James Cook playing the Chargers, you'd think he'd do pretty good, but I don't know. They just fired the worst coach of all time, who also called the defensive plays. So maybe he'll do good with someone else calling the plays. Mm-hmm. But for my boom this week, it was 11:30 last night after studying for the brutal math test. I chose T. Higgins because there's no Jamar Chase, and
so painful.
And I have written in my notes, Steelers' defense is abysmal. Trust me.
Higgins can't catch the ball.
What? Did you see him last week?
He had the one good catch, but he also
scored twice.
He also had 3 ridiculous drops.
It doesn't matter. No one will be covering him. The Steelers, I mean, I don't want to make an excuse because I said it before, I don't fall for their stuff. I know they're not that great, but they're so hurt. They're down to, they don't have their top 4 safeties. Minka Fitzpatrick, Keanu Neal.
Pick anybody up or activate anyone? Classic.
Yeah, Minka Fitzpatrick, Keanu Neal, Demonte Casey, which, by the way, that suspension was bull, but it is what it is. And have you ever heard of this guy, Trenton Thompson? That was their 4th safety. They don't even have him. They have 2 guys who I don't even know who they are yet. And their linebackers are all from the practice squad, or they picked up 2 guys off the street. Picked up Blake Martinez, who was selling Pokemon cards last month, right?
Sounds like a T. Higgins.
I'm guaranteeing a score. Mm-hmm. Start him. He's guaranteed to score and he'll have a lot of targets.
I feel like another thing with that is with a guy like Browning in his first couple of starts, when he can develop a connection with a receiver and trust, that's just going to be so huge for targets wise. And I mean, he was able to just chuck it up to T. Higgins and got it. And that extending one where he scored the touchdown, you don't know what could happen if they get put at the 2 to 1 yard line. Teams, especially the Bengals, they get stopped. They can get stopped at the 1. So I think he's just going to feed him all day.
Zach Taylor's play calling.
I think he's going to get fed all day. 10+ targets, a touchdown, 80+ yards easily. Easy start in pretty much any league.
And real quick, my bust. I'm 5 for 5 on bust somehow. I don't want to jinx it.
I almost chose them.
So I got Devin Singletary busting this week. He's been
definitely just jinxed it. Why
he's
would you
been
say that?
decently hot because I said it the last 3 times, and it's all right. He's been decently hot lately. I think he didn't score last game. We saw the touchdown got called back. They still won.
Had 121 yards.
Yeah.
He still had 20 points.
And he's been getting catches too, which is the biggest thing fantasy-wise.
He's playing a dominant defense, and I think it could be a rough day on offense. I saw something last night. Stroud is not guaranteed to play, and
He's out.
He's out, like for sure.
I mean, maybe not ruled out, but he's like not playing.
Yeah, I don't think he's playing, and that means Case Keenum again. And against that defense, if they can't develop a run game,
It was Case Keenum?
last week it was Case Keenum, and this week
Why do I think it was Davis Mills?
yeah, I don't know why they don't go with him.
I think
Honestly,
he threw like one pass, or he tried to, right? He tried to throw a Hail Mary or something.
I don't even know. But I don't think Stroud's going to play, and if they don't establish a run game, I think they're screwed, and they're going to have to go with the pass game against that, lethal defense. So I just think Texans is a bust this week, honestly.
Yeah.
Texans offense.
I think that that's definitely a good pick. Like good ideas with Cleveland defense is tough, and then they could be down in that game because they struggled against the other good defense they played, the Jets. But the thing is, like against tough defenses, sometimes running backs have like sneaky good games because when nobody's open, what do? You check it down to your running back.
That's the only thing.
And like you said, they are going to
Screens.
be trying to establish the run. So like, it's a risky pick. I like it because right away the pick could be over. If they establish the run, it's over instantly. Like and then speaking of running, finally I feel comfortable to say this guy is going to boom this week. Justin Fields. If you look at all his recent games, he's been pretty inconsistent. He's had some good games, had some bad games. But one thing is, he's missed out on a lot of passing yards and passing touchdowns that really should have been caught. Should have this, should have that, whatever. It doesn't matter. Fantasy week, it's the second round of the playoffs. You need a good game from your quarterback. And when you're going against Arizona, it's either going to be a close game or the Bears are going to score a lot of points and blow them out. So, and like I always say, the Cardinals are a sneaky team to where they'll score points, keep it close, keep it good for fantasy, but it's not really going to be like them like winning or dominating. So I really like Justin Fields to have a lot of rushing yards. Hopefully you'd like a touchdown out of him rushing, but definitely like 2 passing touchdowns, and I think he's going to amount for a lot of fantasy points. When you look at like his terrible games, like last week he had 10, or really 4 weeks ago, he had 21 fantasy points. He had 160 yards and 1 passing touchdown. But instead, his floor is so high because he had 100 rushing yards that game on 18 attempts. I think that you really can't go wrong with Fields, especially against a bad team. Mm-hmm. And for my bust, this is really risky because I definitely could have the clown nose next week. I've got my bust as Christian McCaffrey.
Oh my God! Please no. My fantasy season's over.
Christian McCaffrey, he's projected 21 fantasy points. 21. And in my opinion, I know like boom or bust, you're supposed to judge it off that, higher or lower. I think we could all say that if Christian McCaffrey has under 24 fantasy points, that's not a good week for him. Like,
it's not a great week. If he has 20, he has 20. If he has 17, all right. If he has like 10,
if I'm a fantasy manager in the second round of my playoffs and Christian McCaffrey has under 20 fantasy points, I mean I would be devastated. Especially if I lose, that would be. I mean, he gets 30, 40. But anyway, I don't think it's going to come to that. I think that the Ravens are going to have a plan for him. I think that he's going to have an all right game. He's going to have some catches. He's going to have a lot of rushes. I think he's going to have like 80, maybe even 100 rushing yards, but you don't really care about rushing yards as a fantasy manager. I think he's going to have like 100 rushing yards, like 3 catches for 40 yards, and with 17, that's a bust. I do not think he's going to score this game against the Ravens, but I could be wrong because on the flip side, he could easily have 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. But my prediction, obviously you're still going to start him. It's not really a start-sit situation, but for my prediction, I really think that he's going to bust. And that was our last bust for today. It's early, but we're still trying to bring you guys the episodes whenever you can every week. I know last week was a fluke, but the NFL is going to start heating up. We're going to start having some playoffs. We're going to maybe have some other guys on, give some new perspective, and that's all we got for this week. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your week.
Peace.
Thank you. See you.
Time to email Miss Shershanovich. What should I email? How should I put this up?
I think that got on.